Hello, this is Jim Szymanski, Communications Director for the Washington Retail Association. And our guest today is Representative Mike Volz from the 6th District in Spokane area. Mike, thanks for being here. We appreciate it very much.
Well, thanks for stopping by. It's my pleasure.
Mike serves on the Appropriations, Education, and State Government Committees, and I wanted to start off by asking you about your recent town hall that you had. I was curious about what was primarily on the minds of the people that you heard from there.
Well, we had, of course, a lot of teachers were there, represented, their unions, and they had some, very serious and focused questions about education. So that was kind of a big chunk of it, is talking about education. But there were people there on issues ranging from public records request of governments and taxes and business regulations. So it was more than just maybe the open Q&A that people stuck around for, because both Representative Jeff Holy and myself stuck around and answered questions afterwards, one-on-one, to make sure everybody who wanted to stay around and get questions of us had the opportunity. But I would say by and large a big part of it was focused on education, McCleary, taxes, budgeting, revenue forecast, healthcare, and some other social service issues.
Now, I was interested to see that you come from a family of teachers, including your wife and parents, and you've said that you ran for this job to find a solution to the state school funding challenge.
Yeah, I given them background in education, my wife's a teacher, parents were a teacher, all my kids went through public school. I have a strong background in finance, both in the public and private sector, CPA, MBA, all that stuff, that I thought I could at least help out. As a freshman, it's definitely a challenge. But I was able to get on appropriations and education to lend, any effort that I could in helping that, because quite frankly, I think by and large, people are rather tired of hearing about it. We need to get a long-term durable solution, and education really should be the priority of state government. In fact, it says so in the Constitution that has to be our paramount important, and whether we like that or not or agree with it, it is what our constitutional duty is.
As your colleagues describe these possible solutions, get kind of complicated, but is there a way for you to simplify how it's going so far to meet this mandate from the state Supreme Court by the end of this year, and what perhaps a likely way out of this challenge would be?
Well, I think the most common solution out there is what's referred to as a levy swap, where they would equalize a levy rate across the state and then collect the money at the state level and distribute it equally on a per student basis, a uniform tax, a uniform distribution. And so the problem with that is some people will pay more in taxes and some people will pay less. In Spokane, and I think most of Eastern Washington, it looks like it would be less than what they're currently paying in taxes for this. So, but it's a mixed bag, and anything is going to draw criticism and have issues. So, in terms of what's happening with the McCleary discussions, well, the plans are out. People are talking. Each of the 4 caucuses are sending their folks out, and then I'm thrilled with ours. We have Representative Harris, who's our ranking member on education, as one of our designees on some of these conversations, and Representative Taylor, who's I would say a financial hawk on looking for money and making sure that costs are contained and everything is focused. So,
one of the debates on this issue, and you're an accountant by trade, and I still serve as the deputy treasurer in Spokane County, is that right?
Yeah, I'm on leave while I'm in session, and keeping up on work. We have a part-time legislator model in Washington State, and so keep up on emails and such.
One of the debates in the middle of this education issue is whether or not sufficient funds can be found for schools without increasing taxes. Given your background as a kind of a numbers guy, have you been able to determine whether that's a possible outcome?
I would say absolutely. If you look at the revenue growth of the state, and go back and compare this with your members, and maybe some of them have achieved, an over 30% growth in revenues over the last 5 or 6 years, and the forecast is for another 12+% over the next biennium, and then even further out, an 8% growth. I mean, that is pretty substantial growth in revenue over a pretty short period of time. And I know part of it was coming out of a recession, but we're looking at pretty solid revenue numbers out there that absolutely, if they truly prioritize education, there's ample money. It's just that everything kind of gets balled together in this budget process.
As you look around your district, how would you describe the impact of our industry, the retail industry, in your district? How does it manifest itself in your mind?
Well, we have the 6th district kind of wraps around the city of Spokane, so we don't have a massive shopping center like in downtown Spokane, and there's Northtown Mall, and there's the Valley Mall out there. But we do have a lot of smaller strip malls, some smaller business throughout North Spokane, South Spokane, up on 57th area. There's some retail outlets up through there. And then out in Cheating Medical Lake and Airway Heights. So I would say it's primarily smaller businesses, folks trying to make a living, and in a sometimes tough and unfriendly business environment state. So,
well, one of the things we're grateful for is your support of House Bill 1457. We've been campaigning for this for a while. It would be a sales tax break for back-to-school shopping, which we're convinced would generate additional sales for taxable items as well. I'm not sure what the status of the bill is. I think it's bumbling along again, and I'm wondering if you can, even if it did not get out this session, which it has not before, is there any commitment to continue trying that campaign until folks kind of see the light, so to speak?
Short answer, absolutely.
Okay. Our state's sales tax exemption for qualified out-of-state shoppers is also said to be threatened. It could be a bargaining chip before the budget is passed.
Correct.
And I'd like you to talk a little bit about, being from a border area there with Idaho, what that sales tax incentive means for that area, and what would it mean if it went away?
Well, we're already challenged. We're right next to Idaho, right next to Kootenai County. There's a wonderful Cabela's store right on the border. Literally sits on top of the hill. You can see it from I-90, and when you can see it, it's about Idaho time. And that actually, Cabela's was looking at getting into Spokane County. I think they were looking at a location in Liberty Lake when they were originally looking to locate to this area, and the tax and business environment was better in Idaho, so they chose to locate right across the border. Now, after that happened, there was a Walmart that came in right next to it, so there's already this loss of retail activity out of Washington State into Idaho, right across the border, because of the business environment. I took the opportunity at one point during the campaign to drive out there, just to get a sense of what that really meant. And anybody who's been to a Cabela's on a weekend, they're pretty packed, and the Walmart was pretty packed, and I kind of did an informal count, and about half the plates were from Washington State. So not only are we losing that retail activity and the sales tax for governments, we're actually exporting our tax dollars. And getting rid of that exemption would just absolutely be crushing, because there's certain types of shops in Spokane County that they may or may not have in Idaho, so they are coming across the border. And from Montana, well, we want them, the folks from Montana to keep on driving through Idaho and come to Washington when you're looking to shop, and other areas. And that's true. And talking to my colleagues from any of the border states, it would be absolutely crushing for us.
Now, I know you made a point that I found interesting. You said that the way this place works, to get an insight into how this place works, many conversations are done in like 15-minute increments with people from any number of different directions coming at you. And how have you found that as an environment to work in? I mean, is that challenging or not?
It is challenging, and eventually you have to take all of these different pieces and tie it together. But I absolutely love the diversity. I mean, today we talked about in-home elder care. Had a conversation with some folks from Eastern Washington University about a science building and some other projects that they're looking at. Had an education committee meeting this morning, and even those committees that run 2 hours, it's still these little small bite-sized pieces from everything from bilingual education to sunscreen in school. So so I love that part, and I love the, at some point sitting back and being able to kind of digest all those pieces, because you could see the same topic. It could be 2 days apart, in a 15-minute block, and having, be able to tie those together. So I enjoy it. It is challenging, and it's, some days here early, late, and the meetings come, usually 8, 9 to 5 o'clock with committees thrown in there or floor action, and back to back to back to back. So.
To wrap up, Representative, what's the best way for your constituents to get a hold of you? How do you like to be communicated with?
Well, through the Ledge website. I can't remember the address. Do we?
Ledge.wa.gov?
Yeah, ledge.wa.gov, and I can't remember my specific one, but if you click on the 6th District, or you look at member by name, you can find me, click on it. There's contact information, email address, website. You can sign up for a newsletter that'll come electronically. So the variety of ways, or if you're in town, swing on by and say hi, especially if you're from the 6th District.
Well, thanks so much for being with us.
Absolutely, my
Very
pleasure.
much appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.